And welcome everybody here to the X-Bomb Sports live show. My name is Andrew Valentin, and I hope you all are having a fantastic Friday. We are, of course, coming to you live here from the Illinois Media School here in the O'Hare campus. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I know it has been a while. I do apologize. We've had just some scheduling conflicts here and there and stuff, but in the meantime, nevertheless, we are back. We have a lot of sports news that we want to be able to get to, of course, throughout the week, but unfortunately, it will be kind of cut short. This will be a brief show, as always. It is the Short Fuse Fridays, as I'm sure you all are very aware of, which we will kind of use to put on the short show. In the meantime, next week, we will be taking a little time off just to kind of recoup, get some things done, get some necessary things together, and I hope you guys will understand. But in the meantime, for that, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you guys do enjoy the show. We hope you guys, and thank you guys all so much for being a part of it. If you guys, of course, do want to continue to follow up with us, be a part of it and everything like that, of course, being part of this family, you can always follow us as well. You can follow us on XB Sports. You guys can follow us at XBomb Sports on all the social media. That is Instagram, that is Twitter, and that is Facebook. You guys can, of course, like and subscribe. Follow us as well at youtube.com/XBombSports and twitch.tv/XBombSports for all your news and everything that you're looking for. We stream every Monday and Friday. Again, not next week, but the returning week, we're hoping to get back to a more of a consistent level, so be on the lookout for that as well, ladies and gentlemen. And as well, too, any questions or comments you guys usually have, xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. I appreciate you guys for flooding in with questions. I know you guys had a lot of things you were asking about for the week that you wanted us to be able to talk about. So I will eventually get to those. We will get to those as well for Blow the Whistle and a few other things that you guys have been asking for as well on all the other shows that we do here for X-Bomb Sports. But again, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, a lot's been happening. We haven't really had a chance to kind of get to it. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it, because the first thing we have to talk about is the college football playoff. We are officially at the final stage of what has been a crazy situation in the college football playoff. I mean, you talk about seeing a madhouse take place and absolutely thriving and being able to roll in the money pit, if you will. That has been the college football playoff. It has been a very interesting ride to watch it, right? A pantheon of power, if you will. A varying influx of different sources of energy coming from different teams to kind of flex their muscles and show, like, hey, we're one of the top dogs too. Like, don't mess with us. There has been a lot of that, and we certainly have gone over quite a bit. Now, at the end of the day, it comes down to we are at the final two teams, right? And those teams that stand right now would be the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish for the national championship. So the question, though, that seems to stand is, well, how did we get here, right? Because these are two teams that, while Notre Dame started the season, I mean, you look at how the season started for both of these teams. One's on a hot streak. The other one starts off with a terrible loss. And we'll kind of break all this down a little bit more as we get into it. But it's just amazing to kind of see how this new playoff format of 12 teams actually was able to get to this level of giving us quite possibly what could be an incredible matchup, right? But aside from that, look, for what this college football playoff matchups were, it has been a major success. It's been a major success. For anybody to say different, you're fooling yourself. This has been a huge step forward for college football playoff. In some ways, I understand where the aggravation is coming from for a lot of people, but let's be very realistic here, folks. There are a ton of opportunities sitting in front of us right now to see some great football from here on in, right? This is only the start. Now, whether this expands or not is going to be a big question, because a lot of people would like to see more of this. I'm not a big fan of the bye week stuff. I would rather eliminate the bye week and move on from it. But I completely understand where people are coming from, where, there's aggravation and frustration and stuff, more so on the side of trying to understand exactly how this is going to work long term, and is everybody going to benefit the right way from this? I mean, it's tough to say, right? I like what they've done so far. Of course, I'd make a few changes here and there, but ultimately what I'm seeing right now, I've enjoyed it. I like it. I wouldn't change anything right now. If you want to add more teams to it, by all means, go for it. Add more teams to the situation. But where it stems right now, right, where we're sitting at this point, I honestly would say that I would be okay with making the move to more teams and eliminating the bye week and say, let's let everybody play out from here on in and let's see where the chips lie, because we might get some really interesting upsets. You might get some really good teams that enter in at the very lowest points and get these underdogs that start flushing themselves in for the chance to be able to win a national title. I mean, isn't that the whole point of this, to break up the parity and everything? So I get it. But for what we saw so far from this college football playoff, this has been a huge push for the bigger teams, the power teams, right? Those that certainly will continue to put themselves in play for a chance to win the championship over and over. For a lot of these smaller teams with the portal and NIL and all of this stuff, this is going to give them the chance to say, we have our shot. We have our chance. We can go get it. But you have to play your absolute best football, right? Arizona State proved that to us for sure. But look, let's talk about these two teams that are going to be playing for the national championship, shall we? You've got Ohio State, right? They're kind of the Goliath in this, if you will, right? Everyone kind of knows the general story of David and Goliath, the smaller man taking on, I believe he was a giant of some sort. I don't know, but he ends up killing the giant because he slings a rock in his eye, or I don't really know the full story. It's been years since I heard it, but it's basically the big, strong guy against the small, weak guy is kind of like the ideology that's being pushed here, which I don't think there's really a small, weak guy in this fight. It's two pretty strong combatants in this, but looking at the two sides, OSU, Ohio State, they're the better team. They seem to have the better roster. They seem to have the bigger talent, bigger name brand, right? All of the stuff that you would say is just bigger, and it really comes with, almost like a sonic boom, if you will, like that comes from a jet when it flies over you. Just hear the boom, like you feel that through your system when you watch Ohio State play. Now, granted, they lost to Oregon by a point, and then they lost to Michigan in pretty hard fashion. Right? Crushing hard fashion. But since they have lost to Michigan, they've flipped a switch, and they're a completely different football team. For years, Ohio State was one of these Midwestern teams, 3 yards on a cloud of dust, run the football, power football, play great defense, and they're still kind of that. But I think now more than ever, they've decided to go, screw it. We're going to throw the football. And everyone goes, wait, Ohio State doesn't throw the football. That's not what you do. It's what they do now. It's what they do now. They've got the talent. They have maybe the best player in the country, and he's 18 years old. And Jeremiah Smith, in this game against Texas, they played to get to the national title. He didn't do anything. He was a distraction most of the game. Right? Like, this team for Ohio State is one of the most complete rosters I've ever seen. And you can knock Will Howard for not being a good enough quarterback. You can say, well, their run game's not good enough. You can say whatever you want. But you look at that roster right now, I guarantee you, you throw a dart, you're hitting somebody who is either a future NFL draft pick, a future first-round draft pick, potentially a future Pro Bowl player in the NFL. This team is littered from top to bottom with guys who will probably be playing at the next level. I mean, on that defense itself, you've got 3 players who probably will go in the first round. On that offense, you've got at least one that seems to kind of be like a lock as a first-round pick, maybe 2. So Ohio State might actually have 5 players that go in the first round. That's how good this team is. Now, I know for some it's like, well, we've seen other teams have more. Okay, 5 picks out of 32 going in the first round from your school, pretty big deal. Pretty big deal. This team is elite. And I know Will Howard is kind of seen as like the crux, right? Or maybe that's not the right word. He's looked at as like what's the right word for him? He's kind of seen as just like the weakest part of it, I guess, in some kind of capacity. Because in comparison to what his counterpart, Kyle McCord, who was essentially kind of shipped away and, decided to go to Syracuse where he's had a heck of a year and he's going to go to the draft himself. Will Howard was brought in to replace Kyle McCord because he's 2 inches taller or an inch taller, right? He's about 30 pounds heavier, athletic, can throw the ball deep down the field. He can do all these different things. He's a little bit more of an opposite side of what Kyle McCord is, who's more of an accurate passer and things like that. But Will Howard executes. He makes plays. I don't see what the problem is. Why is he a weak spot? I don't see it. I really don't. He has played very good football. Very good football. I've been very impressed with watching him play. It's not perfect. It's not great, but it gets the job done. That's what matters. That's the difference. On the other side of this, though, is, of course, Notre Dame. Touchdown Jesus. The Catholic school in South Bend. They are one of the original big-name brands in college football, just like Ohio State. Win one for the Gipper, Newt Rockne. All of these legendary names, all of these legendary, players and coaches and everything, national championships, they have done it all. They've done it all. They have not made this a very easy situation by any means. It's important to note that what we've seen from Notre Dame is nothing too crazy, though. They don't get fancy. They don't try and get cute with things. They keep things fairly simple. But it is a simplistic winning formula, if you will, that they have developed. Notre Dame is a team that says, hey, we know what we are. We know what we aren't. What Ohio State is throw the football, play great defense, dominate on every level of the game if you can. Notre Dame kind of just seems like a team that says, you know what? You got a quarterback that can run the ball. We got a bunch of guys that can run the ball with him as running backs and fullbacks and things like that. Why don't we just use that as the primary part of our offense? Let's just be that type of team. Again, it is simplistic, but it works. Remember, they take the loss to Northern Illinois at the beginning of the season. We all read it up. Season's done, over, cooked. Not coming back from that. They still found a way to win. Still found a way to win. So I understand where people are coming from with Notre Dame, where it's like, well, they're going to get smacked in the mouth. Yeah, maybe. Look, this isn't going to be an easy game for anybody by any means. These are 2 of the best defenses in the country matching up against each other. with one team having a significantly better offense yardage-wise, while the other one has certainly put up more points. But a lot of those points for Notre Dame have certainly been beneficial to the fact that their defense has been able to shut guys down, and they've had some good returns here and there. Overall, from what we've seen so far from Notre Dame is, again, it's very easy-going offense. If they were running the wishbone, flexbone offense, they'd probably be in a much better position. But where they are right now, unfortunately, puts them at a very big disadvantage. They're stuck. Plain and simple, they're stuck. But it's not a bad stuck. They're stuck in that offense that can really make sure that, yeah, we'll get the win. We'll secure it. We'll get 6. Our defense will hunt. We'll kill the clock more with running the football. I watched the game against Penn State. It was the most interesting yet boring game I've ever watched. It was interesting because the game was so close, but it was boring because of how the offense was playing. I genuinely, I get it. You didn't think that this would happen. You wanted to play for the favorites. You wanted to play for the teams that you ultimately felt were going to be winners, champions, of course. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. But what I do see right now coming from this Fighting Irish team is that they have defensive players across their board that could possibly go in the draft. I don't know if anybody's going in the first round outside of Benjamin Morrison, but Xavier Watts is a hell of a safety. Jack Kaiser, a weaker linebacker for the NFL, but overall for college, he's very good. They've got playmakers on that side of the ball. The question is, though, is that can their offense maintain any sort of mean stability against Ohio State in that game when they know that there's going to be a lot of guys flying at them at Mach 10? That's a harder question to answer, I think, right now as it stands, other than, will they throw the ball? Absolutely not. Look, Riley Leonard is a good quarterback. He's not great, though. He's not great. This is going to be a very interesting game. I think it's going to be one for the ages. I think it's going to be very interesting to watch how this whole thing plays out because Notre Dame and Ohio State have a lot of similarities to each other, and they also have some pretty major differences, right? These are two teams going into the national championship that right now is rivaling on some legendary stories potentially. And I don't know why, but the Odyssey was the first thing that popped in my head. I don't know why. Not a legendary story, a boring story more like it. This would be a much better story. Notre Dame and Ohio State absolutely are going to have, I think, a thriller of a game. They are going to play completely different offenses. Their defenses are going to match up very well against each other. And the question then becomes, Ryan Day, the veteran coach, against Marcus Freeman, a somewhat veteran coach, but still fairly new to the game, certainly to the national championship. Both are going to be called into question as far as can they get over the hump. Because Marcus Freeman is a guy that Notre Dame Fighting Irish fans, I think, have a lot more patience with than they did Brian Kelly, even though he is a Brian Kelly guy, where Ryan Day has been the head coach of Ohio State for some time. And now there's a lot of people saying, you've worn out your welcome quite a bit. You've done everything you can. So now what? Like, now you got to win the national title. Like, no more losing the national championship. You've got to win. I don't know what else could be said for that. Win the championship or don't. It's not that hard. This is going to be that matchup, I think, that we talk about for a long time. This will go down in history, in lore, as one of the great matchups in college football history. Could really happen. Could really happen. I'm looking at the Fighting Irish, I'm looking at the Buckeyes, and I see a lot of similarities between these two teams, other than a couple of main differences, and one of them really being, Ohio State, really throwing team. Notre Dame, power football. Okay. Game on. Game freaking on. This is going to be fascinating to watch. Two teams, two behemoths colliding. Hopefully at their best. We know Notre Dame is going to be kind of banged up, so that's going to give a lot of fans an opportunity to kind of rile on, is this the right move? Is that the right, all that kind of stuff. Folks, it's put up or shut up. You either are there starting in the national title, or you're sitting on the sidelines with the gauze and the tape and the Gatorade, right? These guys have now got to step it up. This is the moment that every one of these guys has been waiting for. This is a moment that I think for a lot of us, including myself, we'd probably if you gave us the option, like, would you go back right now? I think I might. I think I really might. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would say, yeah, absolutely. If I got a chance to redo it all over again and be in this kind of situation, 100%. I think this is going to be one for the books, one for the ages. One of those moments where we kind of were like, man, do you remember when that happened in the game? I think it's going to be that kind of a moment. I'm a little premeditative on that, of course. I don't mean to do so, but let's be real. Let's be real. Is there any matchup that you would have rather have seen outside of, number 1 and 2 teams playing each other? But Ohio State completely mopped the floor with Oregon. Penn State completely fell apart offensively against Notre Dame's defense. I can't wait. Monday is going to be a fun one. But what happens next? What's the outcome? What's the prediction? Well, hold on there, ladies and gentlemen, because that's going to be coming up next. We're going to be talking about it. It's the Pick Six. That's right. We're going to be talking about the top 6 games of the week. We're going to give you our opinions, our thoughts on exactly who to pick, how to predict, where to go, how to do it. That's coming up next here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
Man, I'm so hungry. I need somewhere to eat fast. I have no idea where to go.
Psst. Hola, me llamo El Taco de Taco. You know where to go for the amazing taste that'll have you craving more? Taco Bell.
Can I get 20 tacos, please?
You got it.
Thanks, Taco.
De nada.
Good. That's it. Eat the tacos.
Taco Bell. Live más.
And welcome back here, ladies and gentlemen, to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. Short Fuse Fridays. I'm still Andrew Valentin. And just so everybody knows, if I don't know, I didn't get a chance to ask. If I sound like I'm incoherent talking up here and all that stuff, I apologize. I'm very tired. I'm extremely tired. Okay? It's nothing else but that, I promise. But, ladies and gentlemen, we just got done talking about the national championship. Obviously, Ohio State, Notre Dame. It's going to be happening this Monday. Obviously, we want to hear from you guys as well on XB Sports For the YouTube and the Twitch, we want to hear from you guys at XP Sports on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and of course, xpsportsofficial@gmail.com. Send in your comments, send in your questions, and we will eventually answer them when we do come back from a nice little week break. Some of us will be taking a nicer break than others. It's a little jealousy there, but, whatever. All the same, nevertheless. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, that's right. It is time for the Pick Six, that's right. As always, we pick the top 6 games of the week. We give them to you for you to do with as you please. The games that we choose to talk about, whether you want to talk about them, bet on them, it's all up to you, and it's only you. We have no disclaimer is we do not do anything to try to influence you to bet one way or the other. That is your decision, so please bet responsibly. If you win money, you can donate it. If you don't win money, I don't want to hear it. I didn't tell you to do anything. None of us did. That's on you. So, folks, without further ado, XBomb Sports Pick 6. And it's actually a little bit different. This is going to be the Pick 5, if you will. The Pick 5. Because there's only 5 games really getting played this week for the NFL and college football. So, without further ado, here is the Pick 5 for everybody out there. We're going to start it off with, as always, college football. The big matchup here, ladies and gentlemen, number 8, Ohio State, and number 7, Notre Dame. I know we just went over it. I know we just talked about it. But let's be honest here, folks. This matchup right now as it stands, Ohio State, as of this moment, 9.5-point favorites. It is projected to almost jump to 2 full touchdowns from once I last heard. If that is the case, I like Ohio State to maybe... not Ohio State. I like Notre Dame to maybe cover this game. Their defense is still good enough. Their ground game can chew up enough clock. Their quarterback is very mid-tier average, but can make enough plays with his arm and his legs to keep you in the game. Ultimately, I think Ohio State is going to have to come out of this thing slinging, right? Just use that arm to, whatever degree that Will Howard can and launch that football to Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka. Get it out there to those guys because running the football against this defense is going to be relatively hard. It's going to be extremely hard for them to do. But where I'm standing at right now, I have to pick a side. I have to pick one. I like Ohio State to cover the 9.5 still. They've got a better quarterback. They've got better weapons. Their offensive line, I think, is necessarily better, if not at least, if anything, matched up tick for tack. Defensive back-wise, obviously Notre Dame wins that battle with Watts and even Morrison, who's just on the sidelines, and Leonard Moore, their freshman, who's an All-American freshman, going up against All-American freshman Jeremiah Smith this week is going to be very interesting. So I would lean still Ohio State, though, to win this game because Notre Dame has not shown me enough, despite, yes, they put up a lot of points. They have not shown me enough against these tougher opponents to be able to clearly define them as like, oh, they can win the national title. I still think it's Ohio State. But I do think this game can certainly hit the over. And I think it can hit the over because I think Ohio State can score rapidly enough to put points on them. I don't think it's going to be a Oregon situation, but it's not too far off from me being able to say, like, hey, what we saw at the University of Oregon can easily happen to Notre Dame too. There's very easy parallels to find between those two teams. Outside of Oregon is a very well-rounded football team where Notre Dame has decided to say, no, we're going to keep things old-fashioned, boots on the ground, kind of run the football, power football, play great defense, all of that stuff. But there's no clarification or guarantee that they're going to be able to actually win this game out because of look at the other sideline. They're bigger, stronger, faster, better. So this is their rocky moment. This is where Notre Dame can kind of put up their dukes and say, I didn't hear the bell ring, right? This can be their moment. And if anything, you can at least show that you had a little bit of fight like Rocky to stay on your feet and not go down. Or you can finally say, I'm going to knock his head off, knock him out, and take him down. I don't think there's going to be any ability for you to be able to just be like, well, that's the end of that. There's going to have to be follow-up on this. I like Ohio State in this one, for sure. Ohio State to cover the 9.5. And I'm going to say it hits the over. I'll say it hits the over. I got a good feeling inside of me that could be. Again, please gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLING. Please gamble responsibly. All right, let's move through these. Next, we've got Houston at Kansas City. Kansas City is favored by 7.5. The over-under is at 42.5. Kansas City has not looked great, but they had the bye week. They've been resting their players now for 2 weeks because they took the last week off to rest their players, which is something I am totally against. Meanwhile, Houston, coming off of a very big win for themselves against the LA Chargers to be able to advance themselves into the next round, which obviously CJ Stroud played really well. So did Nico Collins. This team is still walking wounded. They're now playing up against a very fresh Kansas City. Can it be done? Can Kansas City possibly mess up the 7.5? It's possible. I may bet the over on this, but this is also one where I would say I still think Kansas City comes out of it on top. Beating the spread, taking the win by 9, right? And ultimately, that just sets the tone for, okay, Kansas City is awake, it's alive, and it's here to see what happens next. Nothing against Houston. I like KC in that game a lot more. Next one we've got, playoff game, of course, Washington Commanders at Detroit Lions. Detroit is only favored by 5.5. The over-under in this game, though, is 53.5. Definitely I would take the over. If I am in this position, though, I'm leaning towards the Lions, and I'm saying this could be a blowout. Washington is very young, inexperienced. I like Dan Quinn a lot. I think he's a guy that's going to be a go-getter. He's going to try and force some stuff to happen. Some good may come from it. Unfortunately, there are a lot of times where I think he takes too many risks and gambles, and it ultimately does not pay off the way that I want it to. I can't imagine Detroit losing this game. I would say if you're going to bump it up to like a 6. 5.5 seems pretty fair, though. I would say it is the 5.5 that they're able to still cover. I think in this case, Detroit, they're just stacked with so much talent, and they can hit you from so many different angles, running the ball, throwing the ball, reverses, all kinds of different plays in their package, thanks to the offensive coordinator and hopefully future Bears head coach Ben Johnson, which we will get into here in a later date, promise you. We will talk about that at a very much a later date, right? But I'll take Detroit on this one as well. The next one we've got Los Angeles Rams against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are favored by 6 in this one. The 45.5 is the over-under. I don't trust Philly all that much. Sorry I clapped at you. I don't trust the Eagles all that much. I know they've played well. I understand that they're a good team. I get it. But man. I don't know if Philly, 6 points. There's a lot of early or late feelings, I should say, on the Eagles, because those early feelings on the Philadelphia Eagles were, man, how bad or good can this team really be? It was feeling like it was somewhere stuck in the middle like that. Philly has the best shot to be able to do this if they come out of the gates swinging. But the moment they let their guard down and they let Matthew Stafford and the Rams in, it's going to be a punishing day, I think, for them. Not necessarily a beatdown, but it's going to be one of those things where at the last second they throw the uppercut to kind of knock you down on your behind and win the game. That's what's going to happen. I think I will go with the Rams for the chance to be able to upset. The over-under being at 45.5 itself, I will probably take the under. I will probably take the under on that team. So, just, again, I'm not filled with great conviction on this, but at the same time, I can't ignore where I'm at right now and say, oh, yeah, no, I don't think Philly, they should be able to do this on one leg. I can't say that because they've messed it up so many times before. Meanwhile, the last game we're going to talk about here, Baltimore, Buffalo. The two gems of the 2018 NFL draft are facing off against each other. The Buffalo Bills, The Baltimore Ravens. This game is in Buffalo. It's going to be 9 degrees outside. It's going to have a wind chill factor of like 2. It could possibly be snowing. Buffalo is in its element there. Baltimore plays in the same stuff, but not to the same level of what Buffalo does. The Bills are at a new level. They're refocused. Losing Stephon Diggs puts them in a great position where they're like, we'll finally be able to cross over the hump. Right? Baltimore's trying to get to the championship. Lamar's at the point where he's made a lot of money. He's got a brand new contract coming into his own that's going to hurt their cap space. So they need to make this happen now. So they're pushing all their chips kind of towards the table and kind of trying to say, look, we're not completely all in yet, but we're almost all in on this thing. I mean, spread right now is almost even. I think Buffalo is favored by just a point, half a point. The over-under's at 51.5. First off, I would probably hit the under because I don't think there's going to be too much scoring and stuff happening here necessarily. At the same time, too, I think Buffalo is supercharged. I think they're ready. I think Stephon Diggs did add an element of frustration to the locker room, and now he's gone to Houston, right? So now Buffalo can flourish. Meanwhile, Baltimore can't decide if they want Deontay Johnson or not. That has been a madhouse situation to try and manage. The guy's like I don't know what's going on with that. But that's like the biggest news, and apparently now they're only doing it because they know if they don't sign him, they can actually have him go away and they still get a draft pick out of it, which is insane, but that's how this works. If I have to pick one, which is very difficult for me to do, I think I'm going to be on the side of the Buffalo Bills. Half a point to a point, the difference. Half a point to a point, the difference. I like that matchup. I like the over-under being about 51.5. I think this could possibly hit the over. These are two of the most dynamic athletic quarterbacks in the league right now, both in custody. Both in custody. I don't know what happened there. My mind wandered again. I apologize. Both have the opportunity to absolutely just go out there and just destroy and wreck and make havoc, right? With their legs, with their arms. They've both had MVP caliber seasons this year. I would still argue Lamar's been the better quarterback, but I could totally see where Josh Allen's going to be the guy, okay? I can see that coming for sure. So I'll side with Buffalo. I'll give him the point, maybe bump it to 2 points. And I would say this game probably hits the over. It feels like it's going to be a real back and forth. Talk about classics. This could be one of those classics where it's like, where were you when? One of those two quarterbacks is getting a chance to crack at the Chiefs, I think. And they both want revenge, right? Josh wants revenge. So does Lamar Jackson. Going to be interesting to watch, folks, for sure. That's going to do it for the show here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching here on the Short Fuse Fridays for X-Bomb Sports. We appreciate it. Let us know, ladies and gentlemen, of course, what are your thoughts on the games we picked here? Do you agree with them? Do you not agree with them? Where are you sitting at right now with the NFL playoffs? Where are you at also with the college football playoffs? Do I need to get more sleep? The answer to that is obviously yes. I apologize. But we appreciate you guys, as always, too, for being able to tune in on the YouTube side. That is youtube.com/XBombSports. And then, of course, twitch.tv/XBombSports as well, where you can follow us, like us, and listen to our show at any given time throughout the day. We go live every Monday and Friday for our show. If you guys want to catch any more of us, too, as well, XBomb Sports on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is available as well for you guys to be able to follow and like and all that good stuff. And if you have any questions or comments you want to throw to us directly, I am at The Fluffer Guru on Twitter. I'm also at Boom Crew Captain on Instagram. And you guys can hit us up at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com for any questions or comments or things like that. We will get back to that in the next few weeks when we do finally come back, ladies and gentlemen. With that being said, make sure to check out Blow the Whistle every Monday and Wednesday. I know this Wednesday we did not go. We went last Monday. Go check it out on the podcast side. We're on all podcasting platforms, so you can find us. Just search Blow the Whistle. Look for the man with the whistle in his mouth, the referee, and that would be us. You guys can also check out as well Bad Karma Wrestling every Friday. BK Dub, ladies and gentlemen. They go live at about 11 o'clock a.m. Central Time right here on X-Bomb Sports Twitch and YouTube page, where you get all the news and the breakdown for the WWE, AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, all the wrestling news outlets, and then some couldn't even match what these guys have been talking about, and more so. And I believe that covers everything. I think that covers it all. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. We love you. We appreciate you guys. Shout out to all the people outside right now in California that are fighting those fires. We at X-Bomb Sports were able to make a donation. If you can, by all means, ladies and gentlemen, we will put the donation site on our website for you guys to be able to donate your money as well. We really appreciate you guys being able to be a part of that. Our love and prayers go out to all the people that have lost things, lost family members, all of that stuff in California. We really do appreciate every one of you who have been a big supporter of ours, helping to support this cause as well. That kind of brought this up, like, would we be doing any of these tours? I did. We were able to donate. We're going to try and see if maybe we can donate some more. If you guys want to, again, we will put the link in there as well. And I think that covers everything. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, we love you. We appreciate you all. We will see you in the next show. And as always, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.